Hi, Facebook parents. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Julie, and I'm really happy to be here with you today via Facebook Live. We are going to be talking today about what our kids can be learning from us during this unique time in our history, during our shelter in place. And we want to just remember that whether we realize it or not, regardless of their age, they are watching us and they are learning from us. Whether they're very little or they're 6'2", like my 20-year-old son, they are definitely learning from us. They're seeing how we react to stress, to pressure, to depression, to boredom, to conflict, to setbacks, and to scary news and situations, and they're learning from that. So we want to have age-appropriate conversations with them, and the challenges are different for every family, but one of those things might be about income. We need to have a conversation about a reduction in income. So we want you to know that we have a plan in place. This is what it's going to look like. These are some changes that we're going to have to make, but it's going to be okay, and we're going to face it together as a family. And hopefully in several months, everything will be back to normal, and we will be able to move forward as before. But in the meantime, we're going to be okay. If you're not having those conversations, they're probably picking up on it here and there. If mom or dad is home a lot more, or obviously laid off from their job, or reduced hours, and they're going to be coming up with their own conclusions, and that can instill fear, and that's the last thing we want to do during a time that's already can be frightening. Another thing we want to do is acknowledge the emotional toll that it's taking on us as well as them. Let them know that we are not infallible, and let them know how we're dealing with that, whether it's stress or anxiety or depression. I mean, we're not going to get it right all the time, but we're modeling how to react to those things. And sometimes we just want to curl up in the ball and stay in bed all day. But that's not what we want to model for them. We want to let them know that today, it's taken everything I've got, but I'm going to get outside and get some fresh air and get a walk. I know that will help me feel better. We also want to acknowledge the toll that it's taking on them and their emotional and mental well-being, and we want to acknowledge that that's important to us. Sometimes kids think that their problems are not big enough, that parents' problems are really big and their problems are insignificant in light of that. And we want to make sure that they know that that's not the case. We want to acknowledge that it's hard to go this long without seeing their friends, especially teenagers. They're social creatures, and that's really difficult. The things that they're missing out on, we want to acknowledge that, and help them to work through it. And again, let them know how we're dealing with it, and lead by example. Healthy coping skills, this is a perfect opportunity to model that in a variety of circumstances. If we've come home from a very difficult day, again, we want to make a statement that we're had a terrible day, but I'm going to go out for a walk. I'm going to call my friend. I need to talk through this with somebody. That's a great example, because we want our kids to talk about it when they're having a difficult time. So hopefully to us, but that's a perfect opportunity to model that behavior. One thing we don't want to do, we don't want to say, I'm so angry, or I've had such a terrible day, I need to have a glass of wine. It's fine to have that glass of wine, but we don't want to link it to a coping strategy. We want to, again, model healthy coping strategies. One of the things that we want to do, my kids are getting a little bit tired of hearing about it, but we want to let them know, remind them what we're thankful for. We're thankful for that none of our family has gotten sick. We haven't lost anybody to COVID-19. We're thankful that we are together, that we're all in the same city, we're all in the same house. Some families are spread apart. Even if there are things that we are grieving, we still want to keep in mind the things that we can be thankful for. We're thankful that our school is working with parents to provide education during this time, and that they're going to meet our students where they are at in the fall. That's one thing that can cause a lot of stress for students right now. They need to know that schools have acknowledged that whether they're in kindergarten or they're seniors in high school, they are going to realize what they have missed out on and that their education wasn't typical during this last few months. And they are going to meet our kids right where they are when they get back in the fall, hopefully in the fall. We also want to model healthy screen time. So we don't want our kids to be on their phone or a screen all day long. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. We want to make sure that we're setting it aside during dinner or when we're spending one-on-one time with them. We want to make sure they know that that one-on-one time is important to us and that they're a priority and not our phone. One of the things I do a lot of email. I check my email a lot on my phone. So I want to make sure that my kids know if I'm on my phone that I'm actually working. I'm not just messing around. So they don't think that I'm spending all that time just on social media or whatever. And regarding media, we want to make sure we don't have the news on all day long because that can be really frightening for kids. We try to watch it, even though our kids are older, we still try to watch it when they're busy or they've already gone to bed. If they have their own phone, they're getting their own news. And you need to know where they're getting it from and what they're hearing. A few weeks ago, both of my kids, my 16-year-old daughter and my 20-year-old son, both came home separately and said, I heard that the National Guard is coming to the Bay Area and that they're going to instill martial law. And I had heard the rumor too. And so, and I assumed it was a rumor, but they didn't know that. And so I said, well, let's look at that. Let's look at the source of your news. And there were scary pictures of tanks and guns, and it was very frightening. And we looked at the source, and then we did some investigating. We did some research on our own and found that several news sources acknowledged that it was a rumor. There was a rumor going around about this, and that it was not accurate. And we were able to confirm from a valid source that it was not accurate. So that was a great opportunity to teach them to not let the media instill fear, but to do some research on our own. I work from home on a regular basis, but I don't usually work from home with both of my kids here. So thankfully, my job is flexible most of the time. If they need me, if they're upset, if they want to talk, I can set everything aside and I can spend that time with them. And I'm so thankful for that. That's not always the case, and that's not the case for everybody, but I want to let them know that they are a priority. But I also, at the same time, there are going to be moments when I have to be able to get my work done without interruption. And they need to realize that I'm going to set those boundaries, and it's helpful for me sometimes in my family if I just let them know from this time to this time I'm going to be working and I cannot be interrupted. And after I'm done, we can go grab some lunch or we can do whatever you want. But giving them those parameters is helpful sometimes. It's definitely not easy, and there are times it doesn't work at all. There are times when I get upset with them or they get upset with me, but that definitely helps. And it might mean I have to work for a couple hours later in the evening, but it's definitely worth it. One of the most important things I think that kids can learn from this time is resilience. They are seeing that life has setbacks and it doesn't always go the way we planned, but we can face those challenges and get through it. It's not always easy, and sometimes it's hard work and it can be discouraging, but we can get through it. My son goes to college and he's also got a job. He worked in a restaurant and he lost that almost immediately. He loved that job and he loved the people he worked with, and he was very discouraged. But he found that he was able to get out and get something else, and that'll get him through in the meantime. And it's a setback and it's discouraging and it's going to take some hard work, but he's going to get back on track. And hopefully when this is over, he'll be able to go back to work to the place that he loves. But in the meantime, he's found some income. So that was a great lesson for him. And I explained to him, you're going to have setbacks as an adult. And when that happens, you're going to be able to look back on this time and you're going to be able to remember, I've had this happen before and I got through it before, and I know I can get through it again. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you have any teachable moments that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you in the comments, whether they were funny or productive. Either way, we would love to hear that. We also hope that you can join us on Friday at 1 o'clock for another Parent Ed Facebook Live. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye.